All right, welcome back to the Crucifit Pod. We're going casual Sunday here on the couch, giving this a go. We didn't really have a plan of attack for today. We got some guests coming in, some special guests coming in this week that I think you'll be excited about. To our listeners, will be excited about. But yeah, we thought we'd just sit on the couch. You wanted to take charge and run this
Yeah.
one, so I don't really know what we're talking about,
I don't really know either.
but we will see. Yeah, so we're going to run it from the couch. Just want to just call out to some of the people who are listening. It's almost every day somebody says to me that they listened to an episode and something really struck them in that episode, and it led to something bigger. So I just kind of appeal to that in people that are listening. If there's any point in which you're listening to anything we say and you hear that urge to share it with a friend, I would ask that you do that because one, it helps us get the word out, helps us spread the message. It does help us. It would be a lie to say it doesn't.
Yeah.
But if every person that listens to the show would share it with one person, whoever that inkling is that you have to share it with when you listen to something that hits, um, the what we're learning very quickly is you don't understand the impact you have with these little things with people. And so I just think you never know. If you just have this small urge to send it to a friend, there's probably a very good reason that friend
Hmm.
needs to hear whatever it is that you thought they needed to hear. So I just urge if every person could share each episode with the one person that comes to mind when they hear something. And even if you just reach out and say, hey, the hosts of this show have called me out to share this with someone and you are my someone, I bet there's a reason for that. And you just
Yeah.
don't know the impact.
Yeah, that's true. And like we love talking about all this stuff. And part of what we're called to do as Christians is to spread the word. And so that all is helpful.
hmm And just a shout out to 7 Weeks Coffee. They're not our sponsor, but we love drinking it, and we hope
Hmm.
that they'll be our sponsor.
Yeah.
So 7 weeks, we hope you're listening.
It's good coffee. Okay, so I had asked you yesterday if I could kind of lead this because I went for a long hike by myself yesterday and just had a lot of time to think, and a lot came up um, that I thought could be cool to talk about because there are things that we reference a lot, but maybe some of the people listening don't know a lot about. So I thought it'd be cool to give some background. But first, anything you want to talk about the sermon today at church before I kind of dive into my stuff?
Um, yeah, maybe quickly, but I don't want to get I've been very frustrated in the last couple of weeks, um, at what I call that box checking Christianity, what the Bible calls lukewarm
Yeah.
followers. It's been frustrating me a lot. So I don't really want to talk too much because I could see myself getting into a rant. It doesn't feel like a rant kind of day today.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the sermon today, for anyone that wants to go back and watch it, the Orchard, highly recommend it. And we'll put a link in the show notes. But Daniel did speak about a trip that I did to Pakistan as part of that sermon, and what that looked like. But I think some of the context I think behind it and the lead up to it is kind of interesting as well. And it just goes to paint that picture of what I've talked about many times, with like that divine apprenticeship. So how you're not really aware of how the skills you're building in your life can then all come together to piece into one puzzle that then can actually make some significant impact in
Yeah.
somebody's life. So I won't rehash the entire story that Daniel spoke about because I would recommend that people watch that sermon because there was so much good in there.
He's a much
Um,
better speaker than either of us.
yeah, and so he can do it a lot more justice. But like the lead up, like at the time, I didn't know where my military training was going to lead me. I didn't know where my trips to Afghanistan were going to lead me, but they just kind of make sense once you do a trip like to Pakistan and then spread the word of God. Um, something that was quite. I guess there was a few things. I think three main points that I kind of take away from the trip that are like those kind of pivotal life shifting kind of points. The first one being that prayers. It always feels like we're living out our version of God's story, but we
Mm.
don't necessarily consider how it's multiple people's stories that God's weaving together.
Hmm.
And I spoke
Yeah.
about that in terms of like the meeting that we went to. that led to this opportunity. I don't know how we ended up there,
Like
but
we
I
weren't
don't
supposed to be in that
yeah, I don't think
meeting.
that meeting was for us, but we
Yeah.
ended up in a meeting
Yep.
where they were talking about these mission trips, and it was a missions meeting, like, it was for the people on the board of the missions group at the church were
And so
meeting.
us two clowns just walk in like we're here to
Yeah,
talk about missions.
and you look around the room, and there was, like, David, who was hosting the meeting.
Yeah.
There was another man in his late 60s, I would guess, maybe early 70s.
Yeah.
There was a young boy, maybe 16,
There's
and
a couple young people.
then there was me in terms of the men, like,
Oh
just
yeah,
males,
men.
that
Yeah.
was it, and then there's some females, and so we're in this meeting we have no business being in, and David's talking about the different mission trips that are coming up, and he says, "Oh, we've got Tanzania, and we've got Nepal, and we've got Vanuatu," and then at the end, he's like, "Oh, and we've got this one where I need one person, just one person with experience in the Middle East to come
Hmm.
with me to the Middle East, almost to help provide protection. It could be dangerous or cannot guarantee any safety, blah, blah, blah." And
Which
I'm
is
like, "Who's he
yeah,
talking to?"
like exactly you,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And who else is he talking to in the room?
Yeah.
And so the marrying of the prayers there, because like I had been asking for this. I actually asked Daniel the first time I ever spoke to our lead pastor. He, he asked in a sermon what your unique talents are, and I said to him that I can share the power of the gospel in some of the darkest parts of the world because I'm comfortable in them. And then this comes about, so it's like an answer to my prayer, but I have to imagine with more consideration that David, I haven't spoke to him about this, but he had to have been praying leading up to that
Yeah.
because
Like
he had no idea who he was going to
right.
go with. He had some people at the church that he thought would be the people, and he asked
Hmm.
them, and they declined,
Yeah.
and we had never met, so there's just no way that he could have thought that this meeting was going to happen. But he's had a whole lifetime of prayer, so it's probably not a surprise to him.
Right. Like of course the perfect person came into
Yeah,
this meeting that he wasn't supposed to be in.
it's just normal for him, I think.
And when was that meeting? Do you remember?
Like November, maybe.
Yeah, a while ago. Well, no, not that. I guess between that meeting and you actually going, it wasn't that long.
No, I think it was like 5 months.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was probably around November.
And like you and David hadn't spent any time together other than like an hour here and there at the church
Yeah,
up until then.
yeah. So I think that's the first point, that weaving of God's different stories.
Hmm.
That it's just fascinating to think about.
Well, that shows the importance of the way we carry ourselves in the world and how we treat people and everything, right? Because if it's not just our story he's weaving, if he's weaving all of our stories together with everyone we
Mhm.
encounter, how do we want that to go? How do we want that to be? How do we want to represent
Yeah,
God ultimately, right?
yeah, yep. The second one was like, to go back on what I said in the introduction, you don't know the impact you're having when you do small things. And this is
Hmm.
something I saw two completely contrasting versions of this. So I didn't know what we are doing. David didn't know what we are doing. We were just going because he felt a calling, and
Yeah.
he needed somebody to come and guide him that had some experience in that area. And I just felt a calling to put my hand up and go. I'd been reading Isaiah a lot. I love Isaiah 6:8. It says, "Who will I send? Here am I, send me." It's on my hat. And so for me, it was an easy
Yes.
answer to God. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes to God. But to get over there, I still didn't really know what we're doing all the way until we got there, and we still didn't know. David called me to teach the Bible to these people, which was something way outside of my comfort zone to a degree. I mean, I was super excited about doing it because
Yeah.
it's not public speaking, and I really wanted to do that. It's hard to imagine somebody with less than a year's experience at a church, at this point, 6 months experience at a church, is being called to teach the Bible to foreigners when you have someone of the capacity of David Corson in the room, who's
Hmm.
been doing this for forever. That he saw an opportunity to hand over reins. And so um, all of that is to say that I had no idea what I was doing there, what we were called to, what we were supposed to do. But it ended up becoming very clear as we went along. I won't give all the details because they're probably not really mine to share. But David, we went out to this it was actually a photography studio. It's a long story that I won't get into.
Oh, we can. Oh, we can't post the pictures. Never mind. Darn it.
Um, we went to a photography studio, and we were sitting in the back room with the owners of the studio and all the people that worked there, and there was a whole bunch of them, like 5 or 6 of them, and there's one guy who's in his 40s, probably mid-40s was my guess, and he's not speaking English. He doesn't really speak any much English. He could speak a little, but he kept looking at David from across the room, like this knowing glance, and eventually he said to David, he said, "Do you know who I am?" And David just quit, like, he was trying to remember, and he said, "I recognize your face."
Mm.
And he said, "40 years ago, you gave me a Bible when I was 5 years old, and it changed my life." These 2 hadn't seen each other for 40 years.
That's insane. I
And
mean, that's
he's
God.
like, "When I was 5 years old, you gave me a Bible."
Wow.
And this guy knew that David was coming to town, and that's why he came to meet us at the
Okay.
store, because he's like, "I wanna thank this guy." And so we got to see the power of how a little gesture, it may take you 4 decades to find out the impact of that. You may never find out
Mhm.
this side of eternity what impact you have, but
Yeah.
these little things impact people.
So much, and you never know.
Right, and so then to contrast that, when we left, the day we left, we flew out, and when we landed, back in the UAE, I texted the family um, that we had spent some time with, and his response is what Daniel read out in the sermon, and it was just because I didn't know that anything we had done was gonna have any impact or had any impact,
Yeah.
and just so I got this really long text about how they were so touched, and they just feel honored that God would send people to them, and it was just this long, beautiful message from this kid to describe just how much of an honor it was and how impacted he was, and so I just thought it was really interesting to contrast that David got feedback 40 years later, and
Mhm.
then I got feedback less than 40
Yeah.
hours later, but both impacted people. So that I think is, yeah, just another part of the story I just think is really worth sharing. Um,
It's amazing what just saying yes to God can do and not saying, "Now's not the time. I'm not ready. It
yeah.
won't work because this, that, or the other thing." You just said yes.
Yeah, and a lot of, like, the lead up to it, because the yes was easy, but then this has happened. I don't know if this is other people's experiences, but my experience is always the yes is easy, and then I start to doubt.
Right, because then you're like, "Oh, should I have to take time off work, and that means less money," and
Well,
then
it's more
like,
like,
or
do
whatever.
I even have the capacity to do this? And I'm like,
Mhm.
well, yeah, I've been over to this part of the world many times, but never just by myself, never the person looked to protect one other person, not
Yeah.
ever unarmed. Like, there's all these different things where it's like my experiences were so different to this one that none of that really mattered. So then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, I was always on part of an armed team
Mhm.
that if anything went south or sideways, we're always going to be in a pretty good position.
Yeah.
Whereas this is like, if something goes sideways, I got another man's life in my hands because he's looking at me for the experience and the
Right.
protection. So I'm like thrown into just this single man leader. And so I start to question my value there and my worth and whether I can do that. Um, but yeah, and I think like the third point that really struck me as I read through the Bible more and more and more, I see I've been talking about this quite a lot at Bible study. But the image of fire and how often it comes up in the Bible, when God shows His presence, it's so often in the form of fire, and so all the way through, um, God is He's showing up in the form of fire, whether it's as a burning bush or whether it's fire on the mount or whether it's the fire in the tabernacle or the fire that leads him through the wilderness, or when he goes up in his chariot of fire. It just continually is like this showing up in the form of fire, and he uses it to refine people throughout the history of the Bible, all the way through the New Testament, through Jesus. He uses fire to refine people, but he also uses fire as wrath,
Hmm.
and so it's been really striking me that the same tool used in different ways can have massively different effects. And it just registered to me that all my previous trips to the Middle East have been, in essence, like death and destruction. It's there to enforce a way of life
Mm.
on a people where Well, not he'd argue the politics behind it, but it's we're there for wrath.
Yeah.
But then this time he sent the same tool, but with a different meaning to build a church and to lift something for the kingdom.
To save people.
And so
Wow.
it's just an interesting contrast. So they're kind of my three takeaways.
Yeah, I haven't heard you talk about that third one before.
Yeah, that's interesting.
That is interesting. That has to feel pretty good for you, like a full circle.
I like full circles for sure. It's
Yeah.
like one of my things. I like when something comes all the way around like that. For sure. So it did, yeah. In that sense, it did. Everything else is hard to. It's really difficult to feel. I don't know, pride or it. It was just God's calling. So I don't
Yeah.
feel a pride in that. Like he just told me to go, and I spoke to Daniel about this, and Daniel said, "Yeah, but you still had to say yes." When a lot of people would have said no. But it just
Yeah.
doesn't feel that way to me.
Well, we
So,
talked about pride a couple of days ago, right? Of like, are you proud of yourself? Hmm. Because the flip side is if you would have said no when you heard God telling you yes, you would have been disappointed in
and
yourself.
I think
Yeah.
we had that conversation before I left. I'm like, if this is the thing that kills me, literally, then so be it. But I'd rather die saying yes than have to live with that no,
Right.
because then I'd be living a shell of myself.
Yeah. Because that's not who you are. Are you always someone that said yes to things pretty
Um,
easily?
yeah, I think so. To a to a certain degree. I think some of the smaller taps that I got from God, I would not listen to, but the bigger ones for sure. Like, I don't know why
Yeah.
I joined the military, but I felt a pull to do it. So the big, and like, I felt this internal drive that came from God, but I didn't understand at the time to move to Aspen when it didn't make really any sense. Like
Mhm.
these little things I did follow that all start to make sense now.
Yeah.
So the stuff I was always pretty quick to yes, I guess. Um,
Well, and big changes don't scare you.
mm-mm. No, in fact, I don't like to spend periods of time without big change.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you wouldn't have said yes to the moving to Aspen, like, it's just all connected. It's just all part of the story
Yeah,
that lands us here on this couch in this moment.
exactly.
That's pretty cool. That was a big focus of the sermon was saying yes today.
Yeah.
Saying yes when you hear God calling you.
And I think like this is something I want to talk to the men's group about in the men's ministry, but it's not. I think if David just spends his whole life waiting for Goliath,
Mhm.
he's going to miss all the opportunities when God was giving him something little to then prove himself for when the real battle came.
Yeah.
And so I think people are out there waiting for these mountaintop moments or these like massive calls from God, but they're ignoring all the little ones
Mm.
that God needs you to say yes to on the lead up. And so for me, it started with, and I've spoke about this so many times, but it started with like, if I heard a song or a podcast that I knew somebody needed, I would send it to them. I didn't used to do that.
Yeah.
That wasn't the kind of thing I would do. But then I was like, I'm just going to do this. And it just started with the little steps, the little yeses. And
Mhm.
I kept saying yes to the speaking in public stuff as much as I didn't want to do it, but I just kept
Right.
saying yes. And it just built to the point where this trip happened. And now this trip is already starting to look like, I mean, the importance of it was huge, but the the scope of it is already starting. Like I'm already doing bigger things
Yeah.
as since then in terms of kingdom work,
Right.
and so it's a progressive path. But I think you have to say yes to the little things because, like God says in the book of Matthew, in the parable of the talents, He's like, good and faithful servant, um, you have been trusted with a little,
Yeah, so now I
so
can
yeah.
trust you with a lot.
Yeah. And he gives you a lot. So people are waiting for these huge callings to do these really big, big things, but they haven't been trusted with a little because they disobeyed those small little, hey, send this song to this person,
Yeah.
send this
Huh.
prayer to this person, send this podcast to the person. And I know for a fact, because people tell me daily that they're like, man, yeah, I heard you say that. That really impacted me. And I wanted to send it to so and so. And we've had a couple of people who have acted on that. And then they reach back out and they're like, man, like everything's changed because I
Yeah.
acted on that. So
When we talk about this too, like what we're so afraid of discomfort or or rejection maybe in that case to send someone like, "Hey, this podcast made me think of you."
Yeah. And there's so many easy ways to protect your ego around that
Yeah.
and send it in a way that's like, blame me.
Yeah.
Say, Aaron said at the start of this episode to share it with one person. You're the first person I thought of.
Yeah. Just
There might not be anything
interesting.
in it for you, but you're the
Yeah.
first person I thought of.
Right.
And then it's like there's no pressure on that
Right.
person to take anything away
Take
from
it
it.
or leave it. Here you
They'll
go.
get something.
Yeah. Just interesting how it can be so easy to say no to those little things because of just silly little, like, this is a little bit of a discomfort or whatever it is now.
It's one of my favorite sayings is these things are easy to do, but it's easier not to.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
problem.
That's true. I feel like I've always been a person who, in those things, I've always been like, I'm just going to tell the person how I feel or this or that or send them this or whatever.
Yeah.
I probably have a harder time saying yes to the big things.
Yeah, we switch it up.
Although I don't know, I've been saying yes to some big things the past bit. Okay, that's pretty cool. It was a cool sermon.
Lukewarm soda water.
Lukewarm soda water, Aaron's favorite.
topic. Lukewarm.
Yeah, lukewarm. So one of the things, well, two of the things I wanted to talk about. I don't know if this is going to have any interest to people, so we'll see.
Someone will like it.
But one was a little bit more on 75 hard because we've talked about it, like we've mentioned it a lot in this series of podcasts we're doing. But I don't know if people really understand what that is and why we talk about it. And the other is the 12-hour walk I wanted to talk a little bit about too.
Yeah.
So do you want to share how and when and why you started 75 hard? Or what even it is?
So yeah, what it is a mental toughness recalibration. And so like anything else, mental toughness is a skill and it works all in line with confidence is the way I see it, is probably the biggest takeaway for me. And confidence comes from a place of doing something so many times that you don't have to question your own ability to do it.
Mm,
And so we're out here always looking for confidence and wondering why we don't have it, but we haven't put any runs on the board to give us the reasoning to believe. And so the problem becomes is like we can walk around and pretend we have confidence in ourselves and we can pretend to trust ourselves, but the body keeps score. It knows when you're lying.
yeah.
And so we trick ourselves and be like, no, I'm really strong and I'm really mentally tough and I'm able to get through stuff. But if you're not doing anything, your body you can't trick yourself.
Right.
Like it just doesn't buy that. The fake it till you make it only works in certain situations. You can't fake
Mental toughness.
mental toughness. And anything, confidence, like it's not like that. The only way to gain confidence is to build an undeniable proof.
Mm,
And so 75 hard, it's 5 tasks. Some of those tasks have a few things in them, but there's first one, you're going to pick a diet and stick to it. Part of that diet is to no alcohol and no junk food
yeah.
and no cheat days at all through that. No cheat meals, no cheat anything. You go the whole 75 hard, the whole 75 days on that one diet that you pick. And that's going to be dependent on your goals. Some people's goals will be to eat more, not
Yeah.
less. But there's no diet in the world that allows for junk food.
Yeah. Like the first time I did it, mine was the above what you just said, but 140 grams of protein a day.
Yeah.
Which was eating a lot for
So it's
me.
eating more food
Yeah.
because based on your goals. And then second one, drink a gallon of water every day. Take a photo every day. So like a progress photo. Like selfie or whatever in the mirror.
Yeah. And like with minimal to no,
yeah,
whatever.
It's a
clothes.
progress
Yeah.
photo,
Because
so
you want to
be able to see the progress.
Yeah.
And it's not about the progress. It's about the habit and the understanding that the small things matter.
Attention to detail.
And you do 2 workouts a day for 45 minutes each. They must be spaced out, 3 hours in between. One of them has to be outside.
Yeah.
And what's the last one?
10 pages of reading.
10 pages of reading of a book that is going to propel you forward.
Yeah. So not like a fiction novel or something.
Yeah. So something's going to make you better.
Yeah.
Now, the reasons behind each of them, the reason it's 75 days The reason it's 75 hard is 'cause it's hard.
Yeah.
Each of those activities is very easy.
Right.
The first time I ever heard about it, I was like, "What are you talking about? I do all those things."
But to not miss one single thing for 75
That's the
days.
catch.
Yeah.
The catch is if you get to day 68 and you forget to take one photo,
You're done.
you are back to day 0.
Mhm.
And that's where you start to understand the importance of the little things.
Yeah.
I forgot to take one photo. I got to go back to day 0 to get this thing done.
And I mean, you did that twice in the last year, right? Of,
Yeah.
like,
So the
being on.
last time I did 75 hard, it took me 158 days
Yeah.
to
Because of the
complete
photo, right?
because of the photo.
Yeah.
No, the photo once. The other time I made the decision. We got home from that
Oh,
CrossFit
yeah.
competition at 4 in the morning and I had 2 workouts to go on a whole.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm
Nope.
not doing this.
Done.
But each of the elements on its own is not difficult, but to not miss one for 75 straight days.
Yeah.
And the reason it's 75 days is if you do a challenge for 30 days, there's a very good chance you can put that into a part of your life or a time of your life where you won't be struck by massive hurdles.
Mhm.
But it's hard to get through a 75-day period of anybody's life where you don't have hurdles
Right.
and challenges that you have to navigate. It also exposes you to weather.
Yeah.
So if you just did 30 days in the summer, you're going to get pretty nice weather out there.
Right.
But you do 75 days, at least 5 of those workouts, you're going to be either in some blistering
Yeah.
rain or some like heavy snowfall or some sort
Right.
of blizzard. I mean, I've been out there in blizzards
I mean, my first 75 hard, it was like -11, and I
on
was
your first
doing
day.
workouts outside. Yeah.
Mhm. So
Kind of where I saw this, like, sort of tying into what we have already talked about in terms of Pakistan and all of that stuff, is that people will say, "I'm not ready yet,"
yeah,
or make excuses of like, "Well, I can't do it now because of this, and I have this thing, and it's just that, it's excuses, right?
it is.
Because it is called 75 hard. It's not
Yeah, and they'll
called
wait.
75 easy.
People will spend their lifetime waiting for the best time to do it, and there is no
Mhm.
best time.
There's no
That's
best
why it's
time.
75 hard. It's why it's 75 days, is
Yeah.
because at some point in there, this is going to be, yes, you are going to have to go to a wedding and not drink.
Yeah.
You are going to have to go to a friend's birthday and not drink. Like, yes. But once you quickly start to realize that is not hard at all when you just show up and you're like, hey, I'm not drinking.
No, I mean, well, and Aaron, you know this, and probably some people listening know this, but in my first 75 hard, I ended up on a flight for life to Children's Hospital with my oldest daughter and told, when everything was getting packed up, I was about to get on the airplane. I was like, okay, you bring my weighted vest. So I have that there. And I was able to like keep going through that whole thing.
Yeah. And that's the stuff that we have to
Yeah.
navigate.
But it was in those moments too where I was like, oh, this is why this is important, because this is actually going to ground me and help me and keep me in a good place.
Yeah.
So that I can support her going through
And so
what she's going through.
What it teaches us in those days, whether you pass or fail, and however many times you do it, what you quickly start to understand is like the importance of keeping the promises to yourself.
Yeah.
That's the big takeaway. So you imagine it from a friend's perspective. If you had a friend that every single time you planned to do something, they canceled on you or they
Mhm.
didn't show up or they like just broke that promise, they wouldn't be a good friend. You wouldn't hang out with that person. Yet that's what we do to ourselves all the time.
Yeah.
I'm going to start training. I'm going to start exercising because I know I need to. I'm going to start on Monday. Monday rolls around, you don't start. The obvious one that kills me is like most people start their day by breaking the first promise to themselves.
Their little snooze button.
Their snooze button, they set an alarm the night before saying, tomorrow I get up at 5.
Yeah.
And then the very first action they have on that day is to hit snooze and break a promise to themselves. And then they wonder why they don't trust themselves and why they don't have confidence. Why would you?
Right.
You would not have confidence or trust in the friend that continually broke a promise. So you don't have trust in yourself when you continually break the promise. And so when you know you don't have a choice and it's 11 at night and it's snowing out a storm and you've still got a 45-minute outdoor workout to do and you just put your shit on and go out there and do it,
Mhm.
you come back with a new understanding and a trust in yourself that
Yeah.
you are going to do things when you don't want to do things. And it's so powerful and it gives you the ability to take back control over your life instead of inanimate objects like pizza and beer and drugs
Yeah.
and porn owning your life. Is now you're back in control. So that's in essence, that's the point of it all.
Yeah.
And it's the commitment to the failure. Like you can live these principles But if you're not actually held accountable to needing to do the 75 in a row, like, so when I'm not doing 75 hard, I'm living nearly all of the things
Hmm.
all the time, but it's not the same as when I'm on it. Because when
Right.
I'm on it, I can't make a mistake. There's no leeway.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I have to start again. But when I'm just living it as a lifestyle, there's whatever.
Yeah.
If a bad day comes and I don't,
Right. You
like,
don't beat yourself up over having a donut at
and
work or
so
like
there
whatever.
is something that is hugely different to actually being in the accountability of doing it than just living the lifestyle of it,
Right.
which is worth noting as well.
Well, and something that we talked a lot about before starting this podcast was basically like if you are not in good physical and mental shape, are you going to be able to hear God's call? And then furthermore, if you hear it, are you going to be able to answer it?
Hmm. Yeah, and we don't believe that that's the case.
Yeah.
I just don't. I think if you're poisoning, this goes back all the way back to some of the early episodes, but if you're poisoning yourself with processed foods, sugars, alcohol, drugs, any of these things, or numbing yourself with the same things,
Mm-hmm.
what are the chances you're going to be able to hear a God who's trying to talk to you through the only means he has, which is your body?
Right.
Whether it's your ears, your eyes, your senses we don't understand, it still has to come through your body to interpret it.
So if
And
you're not in a place where you can interpret that or hear it,
yeah, and I think about being hungover. It's
ugh,
just so hard to experience a world when you're hungover. It's terrible.
it's terrible. I mean, I haven't been hungover in, I don't know, probably 15 years, but just that feeling of
Mhm.
waking up and like, what did I do? What did I say? What did I embarrass? Like, it's it's prime target for kind of any kind of enemy attack or
Mhm.
um
Yeah.
really that what you said last week of like it's not even an enemy attack. Like you did that to yourself. So
Yeah.
it's not even fair to
Yeah, and
put
I
it on
think
the enemy.
cracking that door open would allow a lot of negative to just
Yeah.
slide on in, like an enemy attack.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just exposed at that point. Um, and to those people that we know listen that aren't fully believing in the message of Christ, but believe in the message that we share, I think that that raises a good point. Like most of my friends who don't necessarily believe in Christ do believe that demons attack them
Right.
because that's
Hmm.
that's what they call their depression. That's what they call their
Yeah.
suicidal thoughts and those kind of things. We finish recording.
And anyone who's listening who is like Christian and is on this path, it's also good to consider the flip side of like doing some of these things that do give you this confidence, this mental toughness. A lot of what we talked about last week on the podcast with the men's ministry is people being unwilling to get uncomfortable
Hmm.
for the sake of growth together as Christians. And it's doing things like 75 hard that show you, oh, I can do uncomfortable things. I'm strong enough to do uncomfortable things and I'll be okay.
And something that I try to really make clear to people, and I spoke to you about this. I'm like, in the times of our life where it seems the least opportunistic to do this because we're so busy is the time we most need it.
Yeah, we're supposed to
But
do it.
we're like, I can't. There's no way on God's green earth that I could fit all these additional tasks into the
Yeah.
lifestyle I'm already living because I'm at the busiest point of my life. That's the time you have to do it because it teaches you discipline and structure in a way that you can't learn any other way. It just
Yeah.
forces you. It's like whatever happens tomorrow, I've got to get this done, this done, this done, this done. It makes you immediately start to think differently. How can I get a workout in? All right, do I really need to sit down at lunchtime? No,
Hmm.
I could probably go put a vest on and go for a hike.
Right.
And you start to plan things ahead. You start to prepare your food ahead of time because you don't want to be stuck in a position where you're eating garbage and failing and going back. Like it, the discipline required to get through 75 hard will actually help you in the times where you don't believe you have a spare minute
Well,
today. And it shows you so quickly how wasteful social media is.
right. Well, it is. Yeah. And just for people listening, like this isn't just us on a high horse, right? Like we recorded a podcast a few months ago with Christian and you and I don't remember what podcast it was, but basically we were talking about mental toughness and you, Aaron, had been like, well, do you feel like you're slipping to me? And I was like, probably, but life's insane right now. And what am I going to do? Right. And then you saw kind of the next couple months and things just really get very challenging for me. And so it's not like us on a high horse because well, I struggle with this. I won't speak for you. And you finally sat me down and was like, you're starting 75 hard. And I've been doing it again for like a month, and the difference is incredible.
Mhm. Yeah, it
So
really
it's
is.
not just us preaching, like, do this, do that. Like, these are things we're working through
Yeah, and
too.
nobody and always first to admit, but nobody's failed 75 hard as many times as I
Yeah.
have.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
constant failure for me,
Yeah.
but it's what I learn along the way.
And I failed a few times. I did the whole live hard year that I finished in the winter. And in between, and I won't get into the details of what all that entails, but in between phase 2 and phase 3, I did 275 hards, failed once on accident, and failed a second time on purpose. Similar, like my daughter had come up with this really cool cookie recipe and wanted to make it, and she really wanted me to try it. And in that
Let's
moment,
go,
I'm
yeah.
looking at her and I'm like, of course, trying this is more important than
Yeah,
not failing 75 hard. And it was 100% worth it.
yeah. Especially because she appreciated it too.
Yeah. Yeah. Like
So
it meant a lot to her. So that was pretty cool.
yeah, it's a powerful thing. You can get more information, like Andy Frisella is the guy who who invented it, and listen
Yeah.
to him talk about it. There's a lot of meaning. So to just look at the list of things, it doesn't really drive the same meaning as listening to him discuss each of those points. But yeah, great source of information. There's also now versions of this that are more biblically focused,
Yeah. You were telling me about that.
and so if that's how you want to do it, look those up. But
Yeah.
in essence, the reading is the Bible, and
Hmm.
there's forced prayer time and some other stuff in there as well.
That's
It
cool.
still has the workouts in it. Let's just get this one clear. The workouts aren't about the workout. People,
Yeah.
if you're someone who needs to work out more or whatever, you're going to end up in better shape as a
Yep.
result. You can't help that. You will end up. You're eating well and you're training twice a day. You're going to end up in better shape than you started,
Yep.
regardless. But the workouts aren't about the working out. The workouts are about being able to hold a commitment when everything in your life is saying, "I don't have time for this."
Yes. And it's 45 minutes spaced apart. Yeah, so it could be I mean, one of those workouts could be yoga for you. Like but it has to be one has to be outdoors
Mhm.
because that forces you to deal with whatever.
Yeah,
It,
and that's the one where you're home at 10:30 at night.
yeah.
The last thing you wanna do is go outside, like, there's bears and stuff, like, there's
Yeah.
real life
Yeah.
consequences to have to think about.
Well, and even today getting home from church is like, well, I have to do my second workout and it's 90 degrees and so smoky. And I get my vest on and it's
Mhm.
not like I wanted to be out doing that, but what are you gonna do? Fail 75 hard. So what do you think about this? I was telling Christian today, on our walk that my neighbor, when I was doing 75 hard, was like, "Oh, I'm doing 75 soft."
Yeah, I love that.
Tell Fibber. Fibber. I was like, "That's not a thing."
Mm-mm. There's not a Yeah, there's 75 hard. I've seen I've seen the Christian spin on them,
Yeah.
and there's 2. I would say the one that's, like, the double one, that's 75 hard.
Yeah.
Anything else
It's not.
Anything else flies in the entire face of what it is.
Well,
It is
yeah.
supposed to be uncomfortable. That's the entire reason and the entire benefit of what you're doing. If you at all start to modify it a way that suits your lifestyle
You're not
better,
doing
you have
it.
missed the entire point.
Yeah.
It is supposed to be a massive disruption of your lifestyle because it forces you to have to think differently, act differently, and be disciplined with how you spend your time. If you just massage that to fit your life,
You're not doing it.
you are missing the entire point. I don't need to harp on that anymore.
Yeah. Well, there's this at some point I came across on Instagram, it was like this page of a girl I went to high school with and clicked on it and was like, "Hi, I wonder what she's up to." And she had this whole thing about doing 75 hard and she was doing phase 1 and she was so proud of herself, but she was doing cold plunges instead of cold showers. And she had all these reasons why cold plunges were better or harder. And I'm like, that's not the point.
Yeah, and
The
so
point is you do it because this is what it says to do.
yeah, and to people that don't know, there's different phases. 75 hard is just one part of the Live Hard program. You don't have to do the Live Hard program to get the benefits. 75 hard, if you do that once a year, and that's worth talking about. This is a skill that deteriorates.
Yeah.
You stop, it goes away.
Yeah.
You have to do it every year for it to have the benefit because you do deteriorate as much as we like to think we won't. But aside from that, Live Hard is a whole year. There's different things you start. There's parts of the Live Hard cycle where you doing charitable things for people. There's parts where you have forced conversations with people. Um, these are great tools, but there's also there's two parts, two phases that require you to have a cold shower. And it has to
Yeah.
be on as cold as your shower
For 5
has,
minutes.
and it's for 5 straight minutes. It's not 5 accumulated minutes, it's 5 straight minutes of cold shower.
Mm-hmm.
Now, does a cold plunge have more benefit than a cold shower? Maybe. Is it just as cold, if not colder? Maybe. But
That's not the point.
Versailles says have as many cold plunges as you want, but they don't count. I'm telling you to have a cold shower.
Yeah.
He wrote it. So we don't massage that. We just do it the way it says. And if the cold plunge was worse, why would you be appealing to do it?
Well, to me, it's not so much about what's better or worse. It's about saying you're doing something and you're not doing it.
Yeah.
So to me, I tie that to just what we were talking about with saying yes to God. Like, you don't say yes, but I'm going to do it my way. That's not saying yes. It's just it's just not the point. The point isn't whether a cold plunge or a cold shower is harder or easier. The point is, this is what it is. Are you going to say yes to it?
Yeah, and I think there's the book of Matthew. There's 3 in a row stories where Jesus calls somebody to his discipleship, and they're like, "Yes, but
let me go bury my dad first,
let me bury
right?
my dad. Let me, yeah,
Yeah.
And there's 3 in a row where they're like, "Yes, but wait," and he hates that.
Yeah. So it just, to me, it ties it all together, and I feel like they feed really well into each other. And thinking about coming off of our conversation from last week's men's ministry, I touched on this a little bit. I don't think Guy loved hearing it, because it sounded like making excuses for people. But I'm like, if people literally don't have experience in being uncomfortable,
yeah, it's a skill.
It's a skill. And like, so that's where I tie all this together. And it's where we really started this podcast from. It's like, can you have one without the other? Like, can you have mental toughness and self-discipline and also be able to hear God and say yes?
And the military does it better than anyone, particularly the special forces branches of military. They understand that most people haven't experienced hardship, so they just progressively put you through harder and harder, harder things, one after another, until the point where you're like, "Oh crap, I can do hard things."
Yeah.
Like, and you start to believe through experience, not believe through somebody saying, "I bet you could do this." Like,
yeah,
they just put you in a scenario where you have no choice, and then all of a sudden you're not dead, and you're like, "Oh,
I did that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
75 hard has that built into it.
Yeah. So I just wanted to talk about that a bit because I feel like we have mentioned it on a few different podcasts. And I do feel like it's a valuable tool to literally everyone, but especially if you're someone who's wanting to connect more with God, be able to hear and obey whatever he's telling you. Like, this is how you build reps.
Yeah. Yeah, it is, to get the reps in, doing things like this. And something that we spoke about before you started this redo of 75 hard is that, because your argument was, I'm already doing hard things.
Yeah.
But my argument was, you're not choosing hard. Your life is just hard.
Yeah.
So all of our lives are hard. That's
right.
the point. The reason this is effective is because we choose to do hard. We all have to live hard things in our life. That's
life.
That's just being a human.
Yep.
Like, we're all going to be thrown adversity and challenge all the time. That's just human nature. But it's choosing hard that makes the difference in your mindset and gives you that mental toughness. It's not surviving hard. We all do that.
Yeah.
The proof of the fact that we all survive hard is the fact that we're all here.
Right.
I talked about this with you. Every single person on this earth shares one trait in common, and every single one of us, with no exception, will be presented with one thing that's too hard for us to get through.
Yeah.
And one thing only.
And that'll kill us.
It's exactly one. It's not more, and it's not less. What that looks like, it might be a car accident that we can't survive. It might be a bull riding accident. But each of us will only experience one thing that we don't get through.
And you looked at me and you're like, is this that one thing?
Is this the thing?
And I was like, no. Well.
And so we will experience hardship. That's a fact. But we also will get through it.
Yeah.
Surviving through hardship is not the same as choosing to do hard.
And choosing to do hard completely changes the way you see the hard that's already happening.
Oh, big time. You
Yeah.
can't, and there's been times where I said, one day, very soon, you're going to look back and laugh at how easy this was. And it's what happens. Is
Yeah.
like we think it's so hard in the moment, but one day we'll look back and go like, I would give anything to just be in that position
Mhm.
compared to where I'm at. Like that's,
Totally.
we look back, we think what was impossibly hard at the time. One day we'll wish life was that easy.
And I always say too, when we get through those hard things that we don't think we can, we actually look back on them with fond memories most of the
Yeah,
time.
it's great. Like the entrepreneurs don't remember the sales they made that changed their business. They remember the working 3 days straight eating
Yeah.
pizza with the small team of 4 guys. That's the stuff you remember.
Yeah.
That like how many workouts have I done just on 75 hard? Maybe like 500,
Mhm.
maybe more. I remember the ones. I remember like four, and they were
Yeah.
blizzarding snow, and it was people are pulling over, yelling at me,
Yep.
screaming, saying that I'm a danger to them driving, which I was because I was walking on the side of the road and they couldn't see me. But they're the ones, those
Yeah.
ones where it's like where I'm at um, Kansas City with you guys, and you
Mhm.
guys are working out at a competition that I'm not doing, and then I get home, I got to put a vest on into 1,000 humidity out there.
Yeah. The fun part was that we went with you too.
Yeah.
We just didn't wear vests.
And so they're the ones that count, those
Yeah.
ones. It's the real bad stuff that you end up walking away like, that was cool. And my favorite ones are the ones where it's 4 a.m. I realize I've got a long day ahead of me that I'm not going to be able to break out a workout. So I have to go at 4
Yeah.
before the day starts. And it's been snowing and I'm the only footprints. And that just
Mhm.
reminds me that no one else is doing this. And that's a kind of cool little reminder, like, you see one set of footprints and it's just that nice reminder of like, no one else is doing
Yep.
this. I used to deliberately go out on Sunday afternoons and walk around neighborhoods with my vest and some weight or carrying a kettlebell or both and just looking in windows. And every time I'd see a TV with the football on, I just think, you're doing that and I'm doing this.
Yeah.
There's those little things that help you get through.
Aw. All right. Well, that's 75 hard. I feel like if you're interested, talk to either Aaron or I about it. Um, there's a book, the book on mental toughness that Aaron has that I've borrowed a few times. So if you're around and you want to borrow it, I'm sure
Yeah, it's a good book.
Aaron would let you borrow it. I did get one hot sauce stain in it.
All the best books are
Yeah.
stained with hot
With
sauce.
hot sauce. Yeah, it's a really amazing thing to do. And it's but just on the forefront of my mind yesterday.
Shout out to Andy Frisella. Shout out to Von Kohler, who's his like co-host through all the early days of MFCEO, and now he's co-hosting again. A long time ago, I talked about how some of the stuff I talked about Von Kohler's story and how he met Andy Frisella, and then for the first time, he shared that this week on Instagram. That story.
That's
That
cool.
was really cool.
Aw.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, he talked about how he was driving from that sales pitch. And he was like,
Mhm.
"What am I doing?" He'd just quit being a pastor. Um, I I I messaged Von Kohler through the app, Andy Frisella's app. I messaged Von Kohler and I said, the the fact that you were sprinkling in little bits of Christianity and Bible verses into the MFCEO is the reason I'm now a Christian. And he responded.
That's
Yeah, he
amazing.
responded and
I
said, "Well
mean,
done, brother. I'm proud." Well,
that's all such full circle, right? Because how we started this was like, you just don't know
hmm
what one little thing you say or do that could be nothing to you.
and that's what I told him. I'm like, you can't understand the impact that you've had because I didn't tell him we're planting churches in the Middle East and
Yeah.
tell him that whatever. And I
Yeah.
just said, you just can't understand the impact you had.
It's so cool. That's that's something I've always valued outside of um I don't even know. Would I call myself a born again Christian because I was Christian growing up?
No, so
What does that mean?
born again doesn't mean that.
Okay.
Born again means you are reborn in Christ. So you don't have to have been a Christian the first time. Any
Okay.
person who's baptized is a born again Christian because they've killed their life and have been born again in
Okay.
a life following Christ.
So
And so it's
I'm
kind of a
that.
misconception.
So I am
You are
that, but
that,
I'm
yeah.
also
A
whatever word.
returned
Yeah, I've returned.
Christian.
So outside of all of that, I've always walked through life thinking like you never know what that one thing is going to be.
Mm.
So that's just always a value I've held of like because you never know. I mean, I had a friend tell me recently that the first, like her memory of the first time we ever met, and one little thing I said to her when she was really, really struggling, and it was nothing to me.
Yeah.
And she was like, that gave me everything.
Yep.
I was like, wow, I would have never even,
You just don't.
yeah,
You just have no idea of the impact.
no idea. That's
There's like
cool.
whether it's reaching out to people, but like it's anytime you get the opportunity to speak the Bible, it
Yeah.
just it all you got to do is put it out there, and then God will find a way to make that
Hmm.
resonate,
Yeah.
and he'll do the work. All you got to do is just put it out there, and that's to go back to the original intro. Like none of this is us. It's just all God.
It's all
Anyone that
God.
reaches out to me and says like, I heard something on your podcast that changed everything for me, and I reach out to a friend and it healed a relationship, or all the plethora of different stories.
It's God.
It's all God. It's
Yeah.
like nothing to do with us.
No.
I'm just here rambling.
We're just two clowns sitting on a couch with some microphones
Yeah.
trying to do what God's asking us to do. Yeah. So this is the other thing I wanted to talk about just because I forgot about it. And then yesterday on my hike, I thought about this 12-hour walk, and it ties into 75 hard because when you were on phase 3 of your live hard year, one of the things you do is a random act of kindness. So you were giving away a lot of books
A lot of books.
to a lot of people. And one of the books you gave me, because you knew everything I was going through at the time, was a book called The 12-Hour Walk, which you and I subsequently each did last year. And it is literally you just walk for 12 hours.
Yep.
So
No distractions.
no,
No phone.
yep. No listening
Yeah, I mean that
to
pretty much wraps it
anything,
up.
no music, no talking to anyone. And that ties into 75 hard too, because the point is that it's really easy to find 4 hours to do a 4-hour walk or 6 hours or whatever, but purposefully choosing like, oh, I'm going to do this for 12 hours. It's hard. It's
Yeah.
sun up to sundown.
It's 12 hours inside your own head, but then it becomes physical at some point too.
Yeah.
Because your feet are sore.
So I did not do a 12-hour walk yesterday. I did a 6-hour walk. So on that note, I didn't do a 12-hour walk. But it's amazing how much you get from silent time, even silent time with movement in nature. Like there's something about that combination of those three things, like no inputs in nature, moving your body.
Mhm.
And it's not about how fast you go, how far you go. Like it's actually, they encourage you not to have a destination in mind, because then you get hyper focused on like, I got to get walk faster to
Yeah.
get to this point or whatever.
You
It's
definitely
just,
don't want to have a destination.
Mhm.
I don't want to steal the credit away from who wrote that book,
Oh yeah.
so I'm going to look it up, because that 12-hour walk will change your life.
Well, and it will. And so to me, these all tie together, and I hope whoever's listening can kind of see how they all tie together too. Do you have the author?
Yeah, Colin O'Brady.
Colin O'Brady.
And so like the thing that was really interesting for me when I did it is like they tell you um to prime the experience before you leave. So like write down what it is that you're hoping to get out of the walk, and then that's going to prime more. And I started at a church, an old abandoned church on the freeway here. That's now there's a real church right next to it. But I started there, and this is very very new into my journey with Christ. I'd never even been to church at this point, but the thing that I primed was like strengthen my connection to Christ. And I was just flooded with Holy Spirit and emotion. I within an hour I stopped like 20 times to write down and journal. Yeah, it was wild.
That's pretty cool.
It was a wild experience.
Yeah, I think I had only been to church for a handful of times, maybe not even. And my goals, I won't share what kind of my goals were with that, but they were not necessarily Christ related. But to tie that into what we were already talking about, for my 12-hour walk, I think I walked from my house at maybe 4 a.m. and walked from my house up to Dinkle Lake, for those who live here, but a ways up to this lake, and hung out there for a little bit, journaled, read. Like you can stop along your way and journal, or not. I didn't read because they're not having any inputs, but journal. And then started walking down, and I got back to town I was maybe like 10 minutes walk from my house, and I was at 10 and a half hours.
Mhm.
And it was raining. So I was like, oh, I could just walk home. Like 10 and a half hours is a really long walk.
Yeah.
And that's pretty cool. And it's raining. And I'm 10, like I could basically like see the roof of my house.
Your feet are hurting.
Your feet are hurting, eh, all the things. And I remember just standing there thinking, yeah, but that's not a 12-hour walk.
Mhm.
And I'm doing a 12-hour walk. And what I set out to do was a 12-hour walk. And man, it was hard. So I turned and then I went, added this like 4-mile loop um, that I could take that would eventually get me back home too. But just walking so slowly, like, okay, this, I'm doing a 12-hour walk, but like, this has to take an hour and a half now in the rain because I knew I'm doing a 12-hour walk. If I do a 10 and a half hour walk,
Regret
I'm
it.
going to regret that.
Yeah.
And then everyone who knows I'm doing this 12-hour walk, what am I going to say? Oh, yeah, I did it.
Most of it.
No,
Most of it.
I did most of it. And just the power in that alone of like, nope, this is what I committed to. This is what I said yes to. So
Yeah.
I'm going to do that.
Mine ended about the same way. It was like 10 hours and 45 minutes. I got back to my truck and I was like, my feet were so sore.
Yeah.
I hadn't written anything for so long. Like I had all of the metaphysical experience in the first 6 hours.
Yep.
And then it was a physical experience in the last 6 hours, but it wasn't, I wasn't getting downloads. Like I was emotionally and mentally exhausted. There was so much download. I wrote down so much stuff in my journal, like heavy, heavy stuff. And the walk back, I just got there quicker because I wasn't stopping to
Yeah.
journal. And I was like, I just had to keep walking
Yeah.
straight past the truck.
Oh, it's like,
So looking at
yep.
the watch, like, oh man.
Got to keep walking.
Yeah.
And to me, that just does tie into all of it so well. Like saying yes and doing it.
Yeah.
And if you can't say yes to yourself and follow through, how are you going to say yes and follow through with what God's asking you to do?
Yeah. And that one is physically hard.
Yeah.
And 75 hard is hard. That's why it's called that. I had this conversation with a friend this week. He said it's really hard for him for a reason X, Y, and Z. And I said, yeah. That's why it's not called 75 comfortable.
Or soft. 75 soft.
It's hard. It sounds easy. The reason I refused to do it earlier and when it was first pitched to me is because it seemed too easy, which is super ironic.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I do all those things, but I don't do all those things every day.
Without missing a day and hold yourself to that standard.
Yeah. So they are hard. And again, it's like we spoke about how most things in life are easy, but it's easier not to. These are things that are actually hard, but they're not. They're There's
doable.
nobody on the planet that can't do them.
Yeah, they're doable. They're hard. It's about paying attention to your day, about prioritizing, and sometimes being uncomfortable. Like it is uncomfortable to go work out when it's negative 11 degrees outside.
Yep.
That was very, very cold. And I did it.
It's something like there's nothing you can't do in a day if you're just willing to give up a little bit of sleep.
Yeah.
And I don't preach not sleeping as a consistent rule because it's
Right.
not healthy. But on those days where you're struggling to get it done, it doesn't make it impossible. It just means tomorrow you're going to be tired.
It does. Or like I had an experience of, oh, this just looks different. Like I got, my girls back. Like I'm with them half the week and I still had to do an outdoor workout and I work outside, physical work all day. Got home with the girls and I still had to do a 45-minute outdoor workout. I'm like, oh, this is literally the last thing I want to do. Like it's so hot, it's smoky, whatever. It's like, all right, girls, who's going for a ruck with me? Put on my vest. We all went for a walk. It was so much fun. It wasn't like a workout in the sense of a hard run or a CrossFit class or whatever. But without 75 hard, I would have just been like, all right, let's just hang out and sit at home and whatever. And we ended up having so much fun.
I think one of the most impactful and not spoken about things with 75 hard is the buy-in from the kids because it goes for so long
Yeah.
that they can't lose interest, if that makes sense. They're like, man, like mom or dad's doing these 2 workouts every day.
Yeah.
And eventually they're like, I want to join in. And they just tag along for a lot of it.
And a lot of it too is like one of my kids, someone will offer me something and one of the girls will be like, "Oh, she's on 75 hard. She's not eating that." Um, and it's helped them, well, not all of them, but one of the 3, which I'll take, be like, "Oh yeah, I don't feel great when I eat that stuff."
Hmm.
Which is pretty cool. Um, it's just getting creative too, and that's kind of part of the magic in it.
The reason I bring up that eating into the sleep thing is because I see a whole bunch of the stuff that frustrates me with the box checking Christians, and they're not reading the Bible. But
Mm.
that drives me mad. And so the biggest change in my life was when I just set my alarm an hour earlier and I spend my first hour of my day reading the Bible.
Yeah, you do every day.
If that means I get less sleep,
That's what
so
it
be
means.
it.
Yeah,
But the priority now is the first hour of my day is spent in the Bible.
same.
And so,
Every day at either 4 or 5.
yeah, and you get 2 choices. If you want to be better, because all I see is a whole bunch of people that say they want something, but they don't
Mhm.
want it as bad as they want comfort. They're
Yes.
not willing to give something up, let alone give everything up. And
Yeah.
there is a point in this journey with Christ that you might have to give everything up. But most people aren't even willing to give something up. And so a whole bunch of people in the fitness industry, in the Christian world, in most industries in occupations who want more, but not at any cost.
Well,
And it's
yeah.
so absurd when you say it out
And
loud.
how often have we heard someone say, "Well, I've tried everything." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Have
You haven't
you?"
tried anything for the
Yeah,
most
you've
part.
tried one thing
Yeah.
half-assed.
Yeah. And so if you set the alarm an hour early and spend your first hour of your day in the Bible, and you're immediately going to improve your relationship with Christ, one of 2 things has to happen. You either live your life with one less hour
Mhm.
sleep, or you start to figure out ways to get to bed an hour
Yeah.
earlier the night before.
Yeah.
But either way, if the priority is that, you'll make it happen.
Yeah.
I just don't see it enough.
No, I mean, I go to bed at like 8:30, 9 o'clock at the latest almost every single day. Rarely do I stay up later than that because I do get up early and do all of that in the morning. Um, yeah, comfort. It's all kind of comes back to comfort. We're not called to comfort.
Nope.
So choose uncomfortable so that when you're called to uncomfortable, it's
Yep.
a much easier yes.
Exactly. Choose choose hard. I mean, there's a saying in the military: train hard, fight easy. That's
Mm,
the point. You deliberately train hard so that when the real fight comes, you've prepared for more than what's delivered.
okay.
And
I
so
like that.
train hard, fight easy.
Train hard, fight easy. Lift heavy, pray hard.
David, pray hard.
The hard way is the way. All the sayings. Yeah, that's about all I have. Anything you want to add?
Nah, not without getting on any rants.
Okay, we're not ranting today. I'm excited because I started reading Isaiah and realized that so much of the way I lived my adult life is not what God wanted to see. So I'm pumped that things are
Which I
different.
think leads to one last point, like the reading of the Bible. I've been speaking about this and harping on this. Like, it's not enough to read a verse.
Yeah.
The Bible is it's a living book, and anyone that's read it, actually read it, won't disagree with me. The people that disagree with me will be like, haven't read it.
Yeah.
The people who have read that, this is a living book. Like, it is relevant. It is as relevant today as it was 2,000 years ago. And it will be as relevant in 2,000 years' time if we're still here. It just, it's a living thing. It's the living word of God. It's what it's referred to
Hmm.
as, the living word of God. And that's for a reason. And so when you just read a Bible verse, they can impact you and they can make you want to be better. But it's not the same as when you read the entire context of the story.
Yeah.
And so to read Isaiah 6:8 is different than to read the book of Isaiah.
Right.
Because now you know, whoa, and now I understand the position he was in and
Hmm.
how he got to that point and who he was even talking to, and like how they put the coals on his lips to sanctify him. Like
Yeah.
like there's just so much to it. And then how it links to the New Testament and the story of Peter. It never ends.
It's so
And you
cool.
don't get any of that. You don't get the echoes. You don't get the hyperlinks. You don't get the context. You don't get the untold parts. You get none of that when you just read the verses.
So,
But reading the verses is better than nothing.
yeah. Well, it's the difference between like a slogan on a shirt or hat or some Hobby Lobby wall art and like a deep understanding. Like they're both great.
Yeah.
It's just they're very different and one's a much deeper understanding. And then the verses mean more once you have that understanding too.
Yeah. And every time you read it, it's going to feel different.
Hmm.
You can go back and read the whole thing again, read it all the way through. You can go back and start again. It's going to be because you are different.
Yep.
So the entire book will change.
I love it. So lift heavy, pray hard, go read your Bible,
And do hard things
and do hard things
deliberately,
on purpose.
on purpose, with purpose, for purpose.
It's almost like that's a Bible verse.
It's
Thanks,
Tim Tebow.
guys. Tim Tebow, thank you for listening. Please reach out. We've had some really cool messages. Reach out if you want to say something, if you have a question, if you want to chat, like whatever. We're so happy to receive that. And we're so appreciative of you listening, putting up with us.
Thanks for joining in. Lift heavy, pray hard.
Read your Bible.